Allen Iverson was one of the most explosive and misunderstood superstars the game has ever seen. And he says Larry Brown completely reshaped how he understood basketball and leadership. Sitting alongside Chauncey Billups, Iverson explains that Larry Brown coached with an intensity that felt suffocating at first, but transformative over time. He didn't just demand effort, he demanded discipline, precision, and accountability on every single possession. Chauncey adds that Larry Brown never chased popularity, he coached to win, even if it meant creating friction and controversy. That friction didn't just change teams, it shook the entire NBA. If you appreciate deep basketball stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more real NBA history. Iverson recalls how his relationship with Larry Brown was complicated. From day one, they clashed constantly, practices were battles, film sessions were uncomfortable. But Iverson admits that Larry Brown saw something deeper than flash. He wanted Allen to become a complete basketball mind, not just a scorer. Chauncey says Larry believed conflict was necessary for growth if players were comfortable. He felt they weren't being pushed hard enough. That mindset made Larry Brown one of the most difficult coaches to play for, and one of the most impactful. Chauncey explains that Larry Brown thrived in chaos. He walked into unstable locker rooms and imposed structure. He didn't simplify the game, he challenged players to understand it at a higher level. Iverson says Larry expected guards to think like coaches on the floor. Every read mattered. Every mistake was dissected. That demand created tension, but it also created intelligence. Teams coached by Larry Brown always played smarter than their talent suggested. Iverson remembers how Larry Brown never cared about reputations. Stars and role players were treated the same. If you didn't defend, you sat. If you didn't move the ball, you heard about it. Chauncey says that fairness built credibility. Players knew Larry wasn't playing favorites. He was playing chess while the rest of the league played checkers. That mental edge often frustrated opponents and officials alike. The 2001 Sixers run is where Iverson says Larry Brown's brilliance was most misunderstood. People remember Allen scoring, but Iverson says the structure behind it was Larry's genius. Defensive schemes, rotations, and situational awareness were drilled relentlessly. Chauncey says Larry turned limitations into advantages. He built systems that forced teams to be disciplined, not just talent. That's why his teams were so hard to break. Iverson explains that Larry Brown believed offense started with defense and sacrifice. He demanded guards fight through screens, bigs hedge properly, and wings rotate without hesitation. Chauncey says Larry valued trust over flash. If you executed your role, you stayed on the floor. If not, you learned the hard way. That accountability created resentment, but also results. Chauncey reflects on how Larry Brown rebuilt his career in Detroit. He says Larry didn't just give him a starting job, he gave him responsibility, control of tempo, control of voice, control of moments. Iverson admits Larry always understood timing better than most coaches. He knew when to challenge, when to pull back, and when to let players solve problems themselves. That balance is rare. Iverson talks about how Larry Brown never softened his message for the media. He didn't protect narratives, he protected standards. Chauncey says that honesty made Larry unpopular, but respected internally. Players knew exactly where they stood. There was no confusion, only expectations. That clarity built championship. Habits. The Pistons' title run proved Larry Brown's philosophy on the biggest stage. Chauncey says the team wasn't built on superstars, but on belief and execution. Larry demanded everyone sacrifice ego for structure. Iverson admits watching Detroit when validated everything Larry had preached. Defense, discipline, and intelligence could beat raw star power. That upset the league's balance. Iverson explains how Larry Brown constantly challenged the NBA's comfort zones. He slowed the game when others sped it up. He emphasized fundamentals when others chased highlights. Chauncey says Larry didn't care about trends. He cared about winning playoff basketball. That resistance made him underrated in an era obsessed with stars. Chauncey recalls how Larry Brown controlled games through preparation. Opponents were beaten before tip-off because Larry anticipated adjustments early. Iverson says Larry taught him how to read defenses before they formed. That knowledge extended Iverson's greatness beyond scoring. It made him a leader. Iverson admits Larry Brown was never easy to love. He was demanding, stubborn, and relentless. But he was honest. Chauncey says Larry's teams always reflected his personality: tough, disciplined, and mentally sharp. That identity created enemies across the league. Players didn't enjoy playing against Larry Brown teams. They hated it. Iverson reflects on how Larry Brown absorbed criticism after losses. He never blamed players publicly. He took responsibility and addressed issues privately. Chauncey says that protection built loyalty. Players fought harder because they felt backed internally. That trust is why locker rooms eventually bought in. Iverson says Larry Brown believed basketball was about thinking faster than your opponent. Physical talent mattered, but mental speed decided games. Chauncey adds that Larry trained players to anticipate chaos instead of reacting to it. That preparation made pressure feel normal. Normal pressure produced composure. Composure produced wins. Chauncey explains how Larry Brown demanded communication on every possession. Silence was unacceptable. Iverson says that constant talk sharpened awareness. Everyone knew assignments instantly. That connectivity frustrated offenses and broke rhythm. Larry Brown teams dictated tempo without dominating athletically. Iverson admits Larry Brown changed his understanding of leadership. It wasn't about being liked. It was about standards. Chauncey says Larry showed that discipline creates freedom. When players trust structure, creativity thrives. That paradox defined Larry Brown's coaching. Iverson reflects on how history often overlooks Larry Brown's influence. Because he didn't market himself, he let results speak quietly. Chauncey says rings don't capture the full impact. Careers were reshaped. Mindsets were rebuilt. The league was forced to adjust. Chauncey looks at Iverson and says Larry Brown created discomfort on purpose. Iverson nods and says growth lives there. Larry Brown wasn't perfect, but he was real. He challenged stars, systems, and the NBA's obsession with image. That resistance left scars and banners. Iverson concludes that Larry Brown never chased approval. He chased excellence on his own terms. Chauncey agrees that controversy followed honesty. Larry Brown chose truth over comfort every time. That choice cost him popularity. It earned him championships, respect, and a permanent mark on NBA history.